Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is The Wise Ones. We're going to be talking about natural health and wellness. As we age, do we have to end up in a diaper? No, we don't. We have someone here who has expertise to tell us how we can age gracefully and with wealth. Wealth of health, I like to say. So thank you for joining us. Let's welcome the star of our show. If you've been joining us before, you've heard all about Mr. Red.olaughlin. He's an incredible person. If you haven't, let me introduce him. He is a man who is very loyal and very dedicated, extremely professional, and very competent. I have the pleasure of calling him my friend. We worked together on a series of books so far that have all been either Amazon #1 new releases or Amazon #1 bestsellers. Let's welcome Mr. Red.olaughlin and hear what he's doing when he's not here on this platform or with me driving him crazy. Hello, Red. Welcome.
Just another wonderful day here in paradise. Readjust my screen here real quickly. And it's been challenging here lately, but things are generally coming under control. I'm glad to see we have a nice weather here. That's always, for me, a great builder in my life. I'm not a cold weather person, but regardless, let's get on with the show. I like what I met Barry a couple nights ago, actually, on a holistic chamber of commerce. And it turns out that his expertise in natural health options, particularly brain health more than others, and mine align very, very closely. And as a result, we connected literally the next day, it seems like. And things happen and boom, here he is all of a sudden on the show. Well, it turns out he's more than just somebody with a casual interest in natural health, because he has a personal story about that. And on top of all that, he's also an author and just about ready to release. I'm going to let him talk a lot about that particular part. But I just found him to be such a fascinating person that it was impossible not to invite him to be on our show today. And in coincidence with that, I'm starting the Talking Head show, part of the USA Global TV and Radio Network, immediately following the show. And we're talking about lifestyle and longevity. So it's kind of a follow-up in a broader sense on natural health and the things we can do. So without going any further, Barry Bevier is let's just call him a natural health expert. And I'm going to let him take it from there.
All right. Thank you so much. Barry, welcome to the show. Hello.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me today. It's an honor.
It's a pleasure to have you, especially when you're here with expertise talking about a subject that is truly important to so many of us. And for many people, as they age, they think, how many medications am I going to be on? What's it going to be like when I don't have my teeth, when my hair falls out, when I'm decrepit and I'm sitting in a chair? But you're here to tell us that there is hope. So give us a little bit of your backstory about how you got involved in natural health and wellness.
Well, there's a lot of hope. There can be a lot of hope. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes some effort. How I got started in the natural health and wellness area, in 2000, I met a wonderful woman. Her name was, actually, we married in 2000. We met a couple years earlier. Her name was Linda. She had lupus. She had been diagnosed about 10 years earlier when she was in her mid-20s. And she had been treated through the years with pharmaceuticals. we had a wonderful relationship, and I didn't really know much about pharmaceuticals and the side effects. I'd get an infection, I'd get an antibiotic, I hurt myself, I'd take a painkiller for a couple of days, but that was it. And my parents were healthy, as were my grandparents. I really don't remember any of them being on pharmaceuticals. So meeting Linda and seeing what her health was like, and she was on 4 or 5 different pharmaceuticals for pain and inflammation and various maladies. She had lupus. And so I started learning about all these side effects, and it's like, well, wait, this pharmaceutical addresses 1 or 2 things, and then it's got a myriad of side effects. There has to be a better way. So we started exploring what lifestyle habits we could change, what's out there as far as nutrition or supplements that could address her symptoms and make her feel better and maybe get rid of some of the pharmaceuticals. And we actually did find a couple that helped a little bit. It wasn't enough. And so fast forward, in the fall of 2009, she started to get very sick. She had kind of a stubborn streak, and she knew the pharmaceuticals had a lot of side effects that were making her feel crappy. And so when she started to get sick, she didn't get to the doctor soon enough. And when she did, she was diagnosed with, they call it stage 3 liver disease. And she had some kidney problems. And so she immediately was hospitalized. There were some complications in the hospital. And over a period of from April 1st to June 18th, she was in and out of the hospital for 40 days on 5 different occasions. She ended up having a couple surgeries that resulted from a botched simple procedure that shouldn't have created any problems at all. And she passed away on June 18th of 2010 from a brain hemorrhage. And so you go from lupus and pharmaceuticals to a brain hemorrhage. And so when she passed away, our daughters, my stepdaughters, they were 2 and 4 when we met and got married. They were 15 and 17. And so we were at quite a loss. And even though she was very sick, I had faith up until the day before she died that she was going to pull through this. We were going to find a better solution and live a happy life together. And that just wasn't to be. So, and at the same time, I had owned my own engineering company for several years. And when we got married, because of her medical condition and the kids, I decided to sell my interest in my company. And I continued in the same engineering profession, just went to work for a different company. And just as she got sick, the company was reorganizing, and the division that I was in was eliminated, and about 30 of us across the country were let go all in 1 week, blindsided. That actually turned out to be a blessing. Career-wise, it was not good, but it was a blessing because it allowed me to spend all of my time taking care of her and the girls, instead of attempting to work full time and take care of her and take care of the girls, and it would have been a mess. So that was actually a blessing. And so she passed away. I continued in engineering for a couple of years and then decided, you know what? I need to learn why this happened to avoid it myself. And I need to learn and provide resources for others so they can avoid it as well. So I started studying, reading and online materials about natural wellness, took a deep dive into cannabinoids, natural remedies for cancer, diabetes, and somehow I just migrated to brain health. Along the way, I met Dr. Daniel Amen and became aware of the Daniel Plan that he was a part of with Rick Warren at Saddleback Church in Orange County, California. And I studied that program, and I actually taught it for 3 years at a church that I attended in San Diego County for a while. and just became more and more interested in and pursued it. And so that has developed into brain health. Along the way, I learned about a company that was the first to come out with a nutritional supplement that releases your own stem cells. And I dug deeply into what stem cells are all about and what they do for our body, and just the necessity of keeping our stem cell population in good order as we get older.
Wow. That is quite a journey that you've been on. And I just applaud you for your bravery to come forward and share it. It sounds like it's been a tremendous learning experience, but also the foundation of which was a lot of pain.
It's been a journey. It has, and there have been sacrifices along the way to make it happen. And losing Linda was a big shock. But as I look back, my daughters and I would not be the people we are today had we not gone through that experience. And I would not be here on this program with you and doing what I do to help people. I would have probably just continued my career as an engineer and gotten frustrated with going into the office every day.
Yeah, it's amazing how we have these little things that occur in our lives, and sometimes they occur at the exact right time. And sometimes they occur years after, and we say, I wish I had known that 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And in the particular case here with Barry and his wife, Linda, what we know now, could that have made a difference in the quality of her life? Would have extended, another 5 years and actually given her some decent, we don't know. But the likelihood is probably yes. We don't know for sure, but it's everything that we learn, and even what we knew 5 years ago is changed today. The way we treat certain things. So it's part of living. It's part of life. It's part of our growth process, and I applaud him for the fact that he took a very negative situation in his life and dug into it and is sharing that with the world to help other people who might be just at the very beginning of lupus or some other kind of disease that, if you just do a little bit of study, or you go on to Dr. Google or Dr. YouTube, and you'll find some people there that can probably help you. And that, I think, is very amazing nowadays. We just have the information. We just don't know where to go.
Thank you. Barry, a question I have for you. You mentioned about pharmaceuticals and side effects, and I know some of the drugs, I mean, you listen to the commercials, you're like, I just have to turn this off. Or when they wanted to put me on, I had to listen to a recording. I just disconnected. I'm like, I'm not going on that drug. So my question for you is, just as a disclaimer for people who are watching or listening, if people are on pharmaceuticals, no one's saying, don't take your pharmaceutical medications anymore, just throw them out the window. No one's saying that. But what I believe you're saying is that there are alternative opportunities that you have to evaluate and decide what's best for you. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. When I work with people, I never tell them to just stop their pharmaceuticals. To consult with your doctor. If you're being treated for inflammation, there's a lot of things you can do to reduce inflammation. Most of them are plant-based. They aren't going to hurt you. Talk to your doctor. Tell him if you'd like to do this. Get his opinion. But no, that's going down the wrong path. I'm not a doctor. I have a master's degree in engineering. I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm passionate about natural wellness. I stay on a narrow path as to where we should be making recommendations and giving opinions about people's health. Absolutely. I'm attempting to give information so they can take their health into their own hands instead of blindly following a doctor's recommendation for a prescription. I found that most doctors don't know a lot about nutrition and what's available from a natural standpoint to improve your wellness.
Absolutely.
Every doctor I've ever been to that I suggest something outside of the prescription world option, and in particular, if I bring him something that's research-wise, and even some friends of mine, I've given some research on various drugs, they are willing to say, okay, let's try it for 90 days and see what happens. And then you come back and you get measured again. Well, if things are improving, let's stay on it for a little while.
Mhm.
I've never had somebody balk at me and say, no, we're staying this way. I think they're, at least it's been my experience in a variety of doctors I've had over the years, over the decades, that, you give them some evidence that there's something else out there, because they have a legal and moral obligation to follow the
Right.
path of surgery, corrective, whatever is there at that point, and prescription drugs, because that's what they could stand on in a courtroom and say, I followed the common practice that our industry observes. But you start going outside of that and you say, well, he doesn't really have a leg to stand on, and that opens up a lot of legal issues.
Right.
But
Exactly. And
Barry, for people who are not aware, sorry, can you give an overview of what is stem cell activation? We see that here next to your name. Can you share with our audience what that means?
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so we all have stem cells in our body. They're made and held in the bone marrow. And without stem cells, our body and tissues would not renew. Every day, cells die and are replaced by new cells. And so we need stem cells, which is a template. A stem cell is like a template cell that can transform into any type of cell or tissue in our body. So when a cell or tissue or organ needs renewal, it sends a signal to the brain. The brain sends a signal to the bone marrow. The bone marrow releases more stem cells. They go to that area with the signal that needs renewal, and they convert into that type of cell. So say you have a heart condition, your heart needs to renew. Those stem cells go to your heart and they convert to heart cells and create a new healthy heart cells. So it's the foundation of wellness and renewal. And what happens is when you're a newborn, you're growing very fast. Your body is changing daily, very rapidly. You have billions and billions of stem cells being released and circulating in your body. But that number of stem cells drops off dramatically as you get a little older. When you're in your preteens and teens, it's a lot less than as a newborn. And by the time you get over 50, it's a very low level. So we like to keep our stem cell population high, and just think of when the aging process starts. When you're in your 30s, 40s, you may start to see, you need to get glasses. You start to see wrinkles. Your hair starts to gray. You don't have quite much energy. Well, that's been correlated with a lower population of stem cells compared to like when you're 10 or 12 and you fall and you're growing fast and you injure yourself, you heal pretty quickly. So the aging process and the disease process has been directly related to the number of stem cells in your body. So all our product does, we make no claims to heal or cure anything. All our stem cell activation products do, and they've been documented and published in medical journals, is to release more stem cells. So by taking our product, I can increase this amount of stem cells I have circulating in my body on a daily basis from what it would normally be to maybe 10 years earlier or 20 years earlier. So we're just improving that natural process that helps you heal and slows down the aging process.
Barry, as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, let's say you have an unhealthy liver and your stem cells are going in there, they're replacing an unhealthy liver cell. They're not going to give you the optimum healthy liver cell in replacement. They're just going to give you a replacement for the liver cell that's there. And that's the way it works. We can actually improve our organ health, our body health. And when the stem cells come in, we'll get that newer, more energized, younger, newer stem cell. But just taking a stem cell in and of itself if we have poor health, we're just maintaining that poor health. We actually have to do other things to improve the overall health of the body from a cellular perspective. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. There's no silver bullet for optimum health and slow aging. It's a combination of a lot of things. And sleep is important. When people ask me what's the most important thing to be healthy, to maintain good health, it's sleep. That's when our body renews. That's when our brain detoxes. That's when our body produces human growth hormone, which is also essential. Hydration is good. You have to eat clean, keep the toxins out of your body. There are a lot of things, but without stem cells, without that foundation of more stem cells, you will not renew as quickly as you normally would.
Dr. JACALYN, I
you.
see it's almost time for commercial break. Are we taking one today?
We'll continue on, I think. Thanks
Okay.
for asking. Barry, I'd love to have you talk a little bit about your role as a brain health trainer. When we think of trainer, we think of certain things. How do you actually help us with our brain health?
So, okay, well, there's a little story there as well. I mentioned being involved with the Daniel Plan and Dr. Daniel Amen, and he's written a few books on brain health. He has one, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. And so there was that information that I knew, but I hadn't really dug that deeply into it. And so I had been a follower of his, get his emails in late 2020 or early 2021. I received an email that he was doing a program in conjunction with Dr. Joseph McClendon III called Brain Revolution. And they sent a video that was like 4 hours, and I watched the entire thing on the edge of my seat. I was so enthralled with learning more about the brain. And at the same time, I'm 71. And at the same time, I was seeing my peers, my friends, start to have little memory issues, not admitting it, but they were there, and seeing our parents' generation having, severe memory issues and dementia. And so being involved in natural wellness, I thought, maybe there's a way to prevent that as well. So I enrolled in the program, took about 6 months to go through, dozens of hours of material. And basically, Dr. Amen, for those who don't know him, is a psychiatrist. He has clinics throughout the country. His main clinic is in Newport Beach, California. And he only uses pharmaceuticals to treat his patients as a last resort. He does this unique brain scan called SPECT, S-P-E-C-T. Don't ask me what the acronym means. And it measures brain, in simple terms, brain health. And he's done tens of thousands of these. And by correlating with different brain diseases, he can tell from that brain scan. Well, he works on detoxification, on making sure you're hydrated, that you have enough oxygen in your blood, which you can get from food and exercise and hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So and supplements. So it's all from a natural standpoint. And in that coursework, some very interesting stories about people that were having some severe behavior issues that turned out to be toxicity. People that had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it turned out to be Lyme's disease that was causing the brain dysfunction. So I learned about that. So basically, without the sophisticated diagnosis that he has, I've learned everything that he does to treat his patients from a natural standpoint, from a day-to-day healthy living standpoint. So I can, make, recommendations, give people my opinion about, okay, here's your symptom, here's what Dr. Raymond would do. My first recommendation is to go to his clinic and have his brain scan and blood work and get his opinion. But short of that, I can help you go a long way towards better brain health.
That's the first time I've heard about a not a conflict, a connection between Lyme disease and Alzheimer's, because I'm coming out with an Alzheimer's book here shortly. I'm going to have to go check that out a little bit, but I'm guessing some of the symptoms are very similar. There's not necessarily a correlation between the two.
Exactly. There's not a correlation between the two. It's that Lyme's disease can present the same symptoms as dementia or Alzheimer's in the brain.
Okay.
So yeah, I didn't hear anything that Lyme's disease causes Alzheimer's. It's that the symptoms present the same way.
I know that Lyme disease also is very confusing when you're trying to analyze the difference between Lyme disease and multiple sclerosis. There's a lot of similarity there, and sometimes it takes years for the doctors to really be certain of that.
Mm-hmm.
And Barry, I think for people who really want to live longer and they want to live a healthy life, I think one of the things that can be confusing is that if you take the natural path, which is something I know I want and I'm doing, but I still have pharmaceuticals I have to take. It's how can we break away from the pharmaceuticals? Because if we do, it might cause us to have a flare up or something to happen. It's almost like the pharmaceuticals are the crutch that you just want to take and throw into the street. But how and when do we know if we can do it?
That's a good question. And again, I would not like to step outside of my area of expertise. Some people will start gradually. They'll make the changes that they need to. They'll detox. They'll get better sleep. They'll be very careful about drinking enough water. And I won't go down that tangent now, but I would say that most of the people I know are chronically dehydrated because they just don't drink enough water every day. So start making those gradual changes. And then when you go into the doctor, just like Red said, when you go into the doctor and get your checkup, you say, you're looking a little bit better. Keep doing what you're doing. Maybe we can cut back on the pharmaceuticals a little bit. And if you keep doing that, maybe eventually you can get off of them, completely. I've seen people do that. I've also seen people be so fed up with how they feel on the pharmaceuticals that they just stop. They start a healthy protocol and they just drop the pharmaceuticals and forget what their doctor says. I don't know as I advise that, because I know from Linda's experience, some of these pharmaceuticals, you have to wean off slowly. If you just stop them, you could create some other problems. So I always say, just, everything is natural. It's plant-based. It's food-based. It's clean living based. Start that and see what happens. And if you get your doctors, if you're feeling better, that's a kind of an indication that it's working. But I will never say don't have your doctor's opinion if that's how you think you should go.
Dr. JACALYN, that was an excellent question you asked. And I think when we look at pharmaceuticals, any kind of prescription drug, they're really a Band-Aid. They're treating the symptom of what you have to make that symptom feel better in your body. They're not treating the cause of the problem. And that's part of the problem, is that nutritionally we can treat the cause, but when we have, let's say, a genetic mutation of some sort, and we turn that gene on and we suffer a kind of disease or ailment or whatever, that gene needs to be suppressed. It needs to be turned off. And sometimes epigenetically, we can do that with a lifestyle change, which may be a diet, it may be an exercise, it may be sleep, it may be stress, it may be toxin. There's a lot of different things that turn these little genes off and on. And that, I think, is probably more to the answer of, yeah, you're taking the pharmaceutical in order to feel better, to get through your day, because the actual side effects of the disease and the side effects of the medicine can be ameliorated. And I think that what Barry said is absolutely true. We can we can address some of those, but if you start changing your lifestyle to a healthier way, maybe you're starting to infringe upon those things in your health that actually do make a difference in the cause of whatever problem you have, which makes it easier to reduce the dose of the pharmaceutical and eventually maybe get off of it. But you have a defective liver, you have a defective pancreas, you have whatever, and you can't make alpha cells or beta cells. Or, I mean, we have an inherent problem, and we probably have to stay on some kind of medical intervention. But there are probably some that we can, in fact, really go to the cause of the problem and say, if I do this, maybe I can turn that gene off or turn that gene on and make my life better. That's my opinion.
Right.
Thanks, Red.
And one thing that I've learned that I think is very important is gut health. And gut health is very important. And medical professionals are now saying that the gut is the second brain. And I learned from Dr. Amen that there's 8 times the neuron signals that go from the gut to the brain, telling the brain what the body needs based on the gut, than the brain to the gut. And so that's important. And drugs mess up your gut health. Chemicals in our food mess up your gut health. And so gut health is very important. And it's not just we think a antibiotic will destroy our gut health, and then you've got to work to get it back. Eat some yogurt or whatever, get some probiotics. But it's more than that. Any pharmaceutical, any non-natural material food in your body, not food, but is going to impact your gut health. And I saw that with Linda. With her lupus, first it took the doctors several months to diagnose what it was. Her symptoms at 24 were severe rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia. So they were treating, like you said, Red, they were treating the symptoms, and she was on prednisone and high dose of Motrin. I think she said 2,400 milligrams a day.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a lot. Well, what did that do? That immediately destroyed her gut health. The whole time we were together, I never saw her enjoy a meal. She was an awesome chef, and she just couldn't enjoy good food because her gut health was destroyed. So then she was on Nexium, and then something else happened, and she got on another drug. Well, then her blood pressure started to be too high, so they put her on a blood pressure medication. Well, that caused her to be dizzy. And so they gave her a medication for dizziness. And then, it was one thing after the other until she was on like 7 or 8 different medications. And, fortunately, it was all from the same doctor. A lot of times older people will go to several specialists, and they'll all prescribe pharmaceuticals, and nobody's watching to see what kind of conflicts there are there. And so that can create problems too. It wasn't an issue with her. It was just the multiplication of the side effects from the pharmaceuticals.
Barry, you have another aspect of thinking that I would like to go into if we have time here. Show's running down. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Tell us your involvement in that.
Okay. I've been, for about 15 years now, I've been involved in the personal development world. And, Think and Grow Rich is one of the basics. It's kind of the Bible of personal development and success. And I think it was, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I picked up the book and started to read it. And I think I read about 3 chapters, got frustrated because I really wasn't understanding it, and put it down. And then I'm, reading it. This is probably my 4th time now. But I never had the dream or the aspiration of being an author. And decided after this brain health program, I sat down one night with a glass of wine, and I'm thinking, how did a farm boy from Michigan get to be an expert in brain health. And so I just went back through the chain. Well, I met Dr. Amen because I met his wife at an event where she was speaking. Who put on that event? Eric Swanson. How did I meet Eric Swanson? I met Eric at an event called Secret Knock, put on by Greg Reed. How did I meet? And I went through the whole thing, about 7 layers deep, to a pastor that I met at a Chamber of Commerce meeting in Vista, California. And so I think when you're in that state of mind with personal development, you know how important gratitude is. And so I decided I'm going to reach out to every person in that link and thank them for the changes in my life for where I am today. And so one of the first ones I called was Eric Swanson, and I've known Eric for a few years. And he said, and he's kind of a jokester. So we bantered a little bit, and he says, "No, Barry, tell me why you called." I said, "Eric, to thank you for being on the path of me getting to where I am with the knowledge about brain health." And he said, "Are you familiar? Have you heard about the book project I'm doing?" And I said, "No." And so he explained he has 33 contributing authors plus guest authors that are doing this 13-book series based on the principles in Think and Grow Rich. So each principle is a book. So we produced a book on desire, on faith, on autosuggestion. The last one, book 9 that we just did, was on the mastermind. And there's 4 left. So he said, "I have 2 slots, and I'd like to invite you to be one of the 33 contributing authors." And so that's how I became an author. We started, it's almost 2 years now, and the process will be completed by the end of this year. So each book, we have a short chapter. It's like 5 or 6 pages. And each book is our interpretation of that principle, how it's impacted us, how we've applied it, where it fits into our life. So that's the short version.
Wow, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Sometimes the words just flow, and sometimes they're a real challenge. But I've enjoyed it, and again, it's just one of those things that takes you to the next higher level of consciousness and our life.
And it's interesting, if we just stop and reflect on certain things, how we gain just a little bit more clarity. And if we go back again, we get a little bit more clarity. And those things can actually make our life better because, okay, now I understand why. That's been one of my things on my whole. Why is probably the biggest question. But when you start going back into that gratitude cycle and being able to recognize those changes that actually improved your life because of introductions to other people, those things are a fantastic enhancement to your overall life and to everyone you know.
Absolutely. Gratitude is so important. I heard something just the other day, and it was, think of what your life would be like today if you didn't have something that you weren't grateful for yesterday. We take running water in our houses for granted. Think of what life would be like today if you didn't have running water in your house because you weren't thankful for it yesterday. That just, that really impacted me.
Absolutely. There's so much to be grateful for. And I'm grateful for you coming here and sharing your expertise and your knowledge and how you were able to move from one career to a completely different one, which it seems like it's really bringing joy to your heart, and you're helping other people bring joy to their lives.
It is. As an engineer, we provided infrastructure to the community. I worked on foundations for bridges and buildings. And so I contributed that way, but I never felt like I was contributing to humanity like I am today with what I'm doing with people's health.
Absolutely. So rewarding. How can people reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
My email is there in the banner. That's the best way. and really anyone that would like to learn a little bit more about just how to be healthier. I love to connect with naturopathic practitioners, chiropractors, acupuncturists, massage therapists, naturopathic doctors, DOs. Those people are great connections for me, because although they know a lot about natural wellness, they may not know everything. They may not know some of the things that I can help them with.
For those people on our audio audience, Barry at barrybevier.com is BARRY at BARRY BEVIER.com, barrybevier.com. So just for the audio portion of our audience.
And you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as well.
Barry, while I have you on Spotlight, what would you like to leave our audience with today?
Just that you can take your health into your own hands, and you don't have to age like your parents did, or like your peers around you. Take your health into your own hands. I draw a clear distinction between getting older and aging. We can't stop the number of times we, circle the sun, the number of birthdays we have, but we can certainly change some habits in our lifestyle that can slow down the aging process dramatically.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much. I'm honored. Like Red said, it was sort of last minute. I woke up to a text this morning saying, "Can you be on the show?" And I said, "Sure. What do I have to do?"
Well, we have about 30 shows a week, so you're welcome to come back and join us on any of those that will help you get your message out to more people.
Well, thank you. I would love that. I appreciate both of you very, very much.
Thank you.
Barry.
We appreciate you too. Thanks again for being here.
Thank
Bye
you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye. Red, how can people reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
My primary method of contact is by phone or email. That can be found at my website, red.olaughlin.com. Red like the color, RED, O'Laughlin, OLAUGHLIN. So red.olaughlin.com. In my banner, I have my contact information. Just give me a call on the phone or email me. Those are my two preferred methods of contact. Immediately after the show here in a couple of minutes, we're going to be going into the Talking Heads show, one of almost 30 shows that USA Global and TV Network puts on every week. TV and Radio Network puts on every week. And we're talking today about lifestyle and longevity, kind of a natural follow-on from the introductory portion that we had here today. And we'll be talking about the two primary causes of aging to start with, and then we're going into deep detail about lifestyle and how it affects us and what we can do to make those good decisions in our life so that we don't have to have somebody change a diaper for the next 5 years of our lives. So I think most people want a nice, long, healthy life, but they want it healthy. They don't want to be dependent on other people. And I think that's the key to having a nice, healthy life is being able to do those things you want to do. Back to you, Dr. JACALYN.
Thank you very much, Red. I'll let you get over to the other studio and I'll close out the show.
And I shall be there as soon as you take care of everything I need. Yeah, you know exactly what that means. So
I sent it already. Okay.
Fantastic.
Bye for now.
Bye now.
And thank you again for each of you who are watching on the live or on the replay. I know a lot of our audience likes to watch on the replay because why not? We want to watch when we want to watch, which is what it's all about. So I have a few announcements about some shows that we have that are new in case you're not aware. Let me just run through them quickly. We have Dementia Home Care, Balancing Care with Peace of Mind with my co-host Tracy Cram-Perkins. She's a 4-time survivor of dementia caregiving. Can you imagine? And she has taken what she has experienced and she's put it in this book, which I have a copy of. It's fantastic. You can purchase it on Amazon, Dementia Home Care, How to Prepare Before, During, and After. We also have another new show called It's Your Healthy Lifestyle, which I co-host with Mr. Roland Friedel. And on this one, we're talking about all aspects of a healthy lifestyle, as opposed to making decisions in a vacuum. I'm going to go on a diet today. I'm going to start juicing tomorrow. And we just have to figure out, what does that lifestyle look like? We also have our Creative Heart Show that I do with Dr. Madeline Chan. This is a tribute to all of the creative hearts out there, people who have literally come alive through expressing their creativity. And maybe their heart was closed off, it was hardened. We have our new book series, which is called The Creative Hearts Awakening. And our first book is the film and music collaboration. So on this show, we are inviting people who are in our first book to share their story. We also have the show called the Sales Leader Roundtable, exploring topics about leadership and sales acumen with Kenley Davenport and Jim DeBold. This is a show these two gentlemen do themselves. I produce it for them, and it's really quite interesting. They have a roundtable of people who are experts on various topics in business, especially sales, so you can learn more there. Children Live What They Learn, the Power of Etiquette and Manners for Children. This is a show I'm doing with Mr. Philip Sykes, who is the principal and founder of the British School of Excellence. And our focus is on giving children the tools they need now, as opposed to waiting decades later and they have to undo everything as adults, that all the mistakes that we made when it comes to kindness, treating people with respect, and showing up as our best selves. We have Take Steps and Kick IBD. This is in support of the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. For many of you, you know I have ulcerative colitis for over 30 years. I'm on the board. I've got a support group I run, and also 2 events that I take part in as the team captain. And here we talk about, what is IBD? What is ulcerative colitis? What is Crohn's disease? Why should you get involved? And will you join me on June 25th at Lincoln Financial Field, home of the Philadelphia Eagles, when we will be doing our major event, which is the Take Steps Walk. We have Women in Business, where we feature women from all over the world who share their story. We have presenting Pet Psychic Amina, which is really a show about coexistence and sustainability. We have moved away from talking about Pet Psychic and having readings. Pet Psychic Amina is all about every animal, every creature has a purpose in this world, and how is it that we can all coexist together? We have our Hot Topic show, which really can be about anything and everything that you find to be of interest. We have the Earth Show, which is a show Roland Friedel and his associate Marcin. They talk about what we can do without pointing fingers, what we can do today to help our planet. What does that look like, and how can we get involved? We have Entrepreneur and So Much More, which I co-host with Justin Merigliani, and we talk about soft skills here, as well as skills that people are more aware of. But Justin's an expert when it comes to training people in soft skills, so we have a lot of information to share on that one. We have Aging Gracefully with Humor, which is a show I do by myself. And here, this is really in alignment with what Barry was sharing today, is how can we age gracefully and still enjoy our lives? What does that look like? We have Global Adventures, which is not a travel show. This is the brainchild of Janetta Barry. She's in Kenya in Africa, and she brings guests who share their stories of travel. We just had someone talk about Ethiopia, Antarctica, really a fascinating program. I'm totally enjoying it. We have Roland Friedel again and the Mallorca connection. Roland left the island of Mallorca. He's in his motorhome traveling through Europe for the last almost year, and he meets people along his journey. He brings them to the show, and we learn about different ways of living, different ways of looking at things. It's a fascinating program. We have Your Story, Your Grief, Your Journey with Mr. Doug Lawrence hosting with me. Doug lost his wife during the pandemic, and he's also an international mentor who's helping other people with their grief. And so on this show, we explore some of the topics that people don't want to talk about. What we explored this week was, why did they take his wife instead of him? We look at topics that really need to be discussed, but people have a hard time expressing themselves. This show just aired today, Once Upon a Time, the Good Book Guide for Kids. This show I co-host with Diane Floyd-Bain, and this is anything and everything having to do with children. So if you are a teacher, if you are an author, if you are a retailer, if you're a physician, anyone who works with children and wants to share their story is more than welcome to come and do that. And as we wrap up just with the last couple of few, I can't go through all of them, but we have fashion, travel, and fitness. Obviously, you can tell what those topics are. We have our men's program. All men are invited to be a guest. This is, again, led by Mr. Roland Friedel and moderated by him. You can see Red is one of the panelists. Yesterday, the topic was, should relationships be 50-50? And that was fascinating because two of the guys got quite heated and passionate about what 50-50 looks like. So do join the men. We have another show that is run by Ann Scotland and Dr. Roger Leslie. I produced this for them. It's called I'm Spiritual But, looking at all types of implications, ramifications from religious upbringing, maybe not having a religious upbringing, maybe going to Catholic church your whole life and then realizing you need something more, or maybe never going to church and realizing you need something more. We also have this one, this show title is outdated, but Talking Peace Around the World. We actually just had our expert correspondents from the United Kingdom and from Lebanon, where we interviewed two people who were doing a 30-day sit-in in a darkened Parliament House in Lebanon, talking about the why that they are doing it and what they would like to come out of it. And they actually were on day 31. I think today it's day 35. It's a lawyer and a professor who are literally living in the darkness without any heat to bring awareness as to what's going on in the country of Lebanon. And I'll just pick one more, food and our emotions. This is a show that red.olaughlin and I do. It's about the fact that every day we have to make a decision around our food choices. And sometimes it results in gaining weight, losing weight, eating because we're depressed, eating because we're bored, eating because we're happy. And what is that connection that we have to food, and how is it impacting both our brains and our bodies? So I'll stop there because I'm exhausted. I didn't even get to the other 15 or 18 shows, but you see, we have a myriad of things to offer. If you'd like to be a guest, go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com, and book your session. Thank you again. We are off and running. Mr. Red O'Loughlin's waiting for me backstage. I'll be producing his show. Please do stay tuned for Talking Heads, and we'll see you then. Bye for now.